Karen met George during his rise to success. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed to have it all. Their life together appeared picture-perfect: lavish homes, high-profile events, and 3 beautiful children. George's public persona as a community leader and philanthropist only added to the illusion. He was the co-owner of an NHL team and had founded 2 investment banks, making him a respected figure in Calgary's business community. But cracks began to show early in their marriage. Karen recalls how George's controlling behavior started subtly. He managed all their finances, keeping her in the dark about their wealth. Over time, she realized this was no accident. It was a calculated move to exert power over her. As his business ventures grew more demanding, so did his erratic behavior. His dependence on alcohol and drugs became apparent, but Karen stayed silent, believing she could fix things. George would often return home late, reeking of alcohol and perfume, but Karen chose to ignore it, convincing herself that she was overreacting. She felt trapped by societal expectations. How could she leave a man who was so admired by the world? The fear of being judged and ostracized kept her in a marriage that was slowly suffocating her. As the years passed, Karen became adept at hiding her reality. She perfected the art of smiling through pain, of pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. But beneath the surface, she was drowning in a sea of despair. The emotional abuse escalated into physical altercations, rare but terrifying enough to keep Karen in constant fear. George's mood swings were unpredictable. One moment, he was the doting husband, and the next, he was a tyrant. He used psychological tactics to break her spirit, gaslighting her into doubting her reality and isolating her from friends and family. Karen describes how she became robotically programmed to anticipate his needs and avoid his wrath. Her identity slowly eroded as she lived under his coercive control. She felt like a prisoner in her own home, always walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next explosion would happen. Despite the abuse, Karen felt trapped by shame and societal expectations. How could she leave a man who was so admired by the world? The thought of being a single mother, of facing financial uncertainty, was daunting. She convinced herself that she was overreacting, that George loved her in his own way. But the truth was far more sinister. George's infidelity was rampant, and Karen discovered affairs with women she had considered friends. The betrayal cut deep, but she was too paralyzed by fear and self-doubt to confront him or leave. One night, Karen woke up to find George passed out on the couch, a bottle of whiskey still clutched in his hand. She tried to rouse him, but he was unresponsive. In a moment of desperation, she called 911, fearing for his life. The paramedics arrived, and as they took George away, Karen felt a mix of relief and guilt. For the first time, she realized that she wasn't alone in this nightmare. The hospital visit was a turning point. George's doctor revealed that his substance abuse was more severe than Karen had imagined. The doctor's words struck a chord. Karen realized she had been living in denial, ignoring the signs of a man spiraling out of control. As George's business began to falter, his behavior worsened. The stress led to more substance abuse and infidelity. Karen discovered text messages on his phone, explicit conversations with women she had never met. The betrayal was suffocating, but she felt powerless to stop it. One evening, as they were hosting a dinner party for Calgary's elite, George's behavior became increasingly erratic. He was drunk and belligerent, embarrassing their guests with his antics. Karen tried to intervene, but he turned on her, humiliating her in front of their friends. The night ended with George storming out of the house, leaving Karen alone and shattered. She realized then that she couldn't fix him. She needed to save herself. But the fear of leaving was overwhelming. Where would she go? How would she support herself and their children? The thought of starting over was daunting, but the alternative was worse, staying in a marriage that was slowly killing her. The turning point came after one particularly violent incident that left Karen questioning her survival if she stayed any longer. George had come home late, drunk and aggressive. He accused her of plotting against him, of trying to leave him. The argument escalated, and for the first time, Karen feared for her life. She locked herself in the bedroom, but George broke down the door, his eyes wild with rage. Karen remembers the sound of shattering wood, the feel of his hands around her throat.
She thought it was the end, but something inside her snapped.
She realized she couldn't stay anymore. She began seeking help discreetly, researching patterns of abuse and coercive control. She realized that what she was experiencing wasn't just a troubled marriage. It was domestic terrorism. Karen started documenting every incident, every threat, every moment of abuse. She kept a journal hidden away, a record of her life in hell. She knew that one day, she would need proof to escape. Karen's journey to freedom was slow and treacherous. She began secretly saving money, opening a bank account in her name alone. She reached out to a few trusted friends, people who had always suspected that something was wrong. With their help, Karen started making plans to leave. She knew it wouldn't be easy. George would fight to keep her trapped. But she was determined to break free. The day of her escape was meticulously planned. Karen packed a small bag, just enough for her and the children. She waited until George was away on a business trip, then she made her move. As they drove away from the house, Karen felt a mix of emotions: fear, relief, and hope. She knew that she had taken the first step towards reclaiming her life. But the journey ahead was fraught with challenges. George would stop at nothing to keep her from leaving him. He threatened to take the children away, to ruin her reputation in the community. Karen faced a daunting legal battle, but she was determined to fight for her freedom. In 2017, George tragically took his own life after years of battling addiction and mental health issues. While his death brought an end to her immediate suffering, it also left Karen grappling with guilt, unresolved trauma, and financial chaos. The media portrayed George as a tragic figure, a man who had lost his battle with demons. But Karen knew the truth, a man who had terrorized her for years, who had nearly cost her her life. As she navigated the complex web of grief and trauma, Karen realized that she wasn't alone. There were countless women living in similar nightmares, trapped by fear and societal expectations. Karen turned her pain into purpose by becoming an advocate for mental health awareness and domestic violence prevention. She co-chaired initiatives in Calgary aimed at addressing addiction and mental health inequities while speaking openly about her experiences. In her memoir, A Perfect Nightmare, Karen lifts the curtain on the hidden realities of domestic abuse among affluent families, a world where power dynamics often shield abusers from accountability. She hopes her story will educate others about the subtle yet devastating effects of psychological abuse while reducing the stigma surrounding victims who feel trapped. Karen's journey is a testament to resilience and courage. She survived a perfect nightmare and emerged stronger, determined to help others escape their own. Karen Gosbee's story is one of survival against all odds, a reminder that even the most glittering lives can hide unimaginable darkness. Her courage in sharing her journey has given hope to countless others suffering in silence. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence or mental health struggles, please seek help through available resources in your area. Remember, you are not alone.